This is a groovy party, man.
Yeah,
I
brother,
can
like
dig it.
solid. Right on.
Hey, man, what's your name?
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Franklin, and this is Probable coming to you every Thursday at 5 p.m. on LA Talk Live Radio. Today, we're going to break down the Michael Brown killing, and I'm going to enlighten you about what the grand jury is trying to do. I'm telling you, they're trying to fool you, trick you, misdirect you in another direction. So I'm going to break it down from what they should be looking at. And if you, by the end of this, you should understand what I'm telling you, and hopefully this will get to Ferguson. And remember, I want signs made that says, count every round. That's what our new slogan is going to be for Ferguson. It's going to be to count every round. But before I get in that, I have to say the midterm election is coming up. And I'm hoping each and every one of us go out and vote. You know, it's amazing to me to realize that 70% of us have already been written off before the votes even counted. That's amazing to us. And you have some really good propositions out there on the ballot. The number one I want you to look for is 47. If you don't know what that proposition is, that's the one where they want people who commit misdemeanor offenses to be released from jail so they can get treatment, especially drug offenses. I mean, we ask the same for people who are alcoholics and people who are strung out on tobacco. They get treatment. So let's stop incarcerating those who have been misfortunate enough to get a drug addiction. So let's try to help them out so that they can move on with their life. But we have to vote first. I live in South LA, and I'm not ashamed to say I live in South LA. I live down there, and I drive around every day, but I venture out of South LA all the time, too. I just came back from Irvine. I was in Garden Grove, and amazing how many signs that they have posted up. Get out to vote. Don't forget to vote. They let you know what day you're voting. As I ride around in my community, South Central LA, there's not one sign out. Well, let me not say one, because LA Security Academy has a sign out in A2 Live Scan that tells you to go vote. We should understand the dates that's coming up to vote, understand what's on the ballot to vote, and pick out the initiatives that are going to help us. So we all should vote. I mean, you can't say that you want to be part of the system and you won't vote. And I've heard so many of my friends say, I don't give a damn about that. I ain't voting this day. But until you say that until you get caught up in the system, or you want the system to work for you. And when you realize that the system is not working for you, you got to remember that you're part of why the system is not working for you. If they thought 100% of us would come out and vote, everything would change for us. It really would. But hopefully, I hope you come out and vote for several reasons. If you're a Hillary Clinton fan, you should come out and vote because she's going to be the next president. And if you want to see a woman in office, you should make sure that the Senate and the House of Representatives is friendly to her when she gets there. If you're a friend of Barack Obama, you should vote and not let him be a lame duck so that he can pass some of the laws like he did. He got rid of 2 wars. He fixed the economy. He passed the Health Care Act. So I don't know why people are running around asking this man to do a whole lot, and including the stupid people I know on the west side of town who keep saying that we should go back to Syria or Iraq and put boots on the ground. What they don't tell you is who boots they want on the ground. They're not going to put their boots on the ground. So anybody that tells me that they want boots on the ground, that's never been in the military, never served, and never expected to serve or going to serve or want to serve, you need to shut the hell up. You're a weak coward that want to send other people into harm's way and not go there yourself. If you want boots on the ground, then let's start a 2-year draft nationwide so even the 1% of children can go. All right? So let's not tell you any more of that garbage about put boots on the ground, because the boots we put on the ground for the last 12 years have been on the ground 12 years. Those kids have been in and out of war. They got post-traumatic stress. They can't even get help. And you want to send them back to war. So when you say We should put boots on the ground. I don't care who you are. Now, even a senator, you tell me who boots you want to put on the ground. And if you're in Congress, let's start a 2-year draft so everybody boots get on the ground. All right? Not just the poor. All right, moving off of that. I'm going to say that for the Veterans Day class so we can go back to that one. But what I want you to vote. Now, for all my friends out there that's coming to my Second Chance in Life Foundation really quickly, I don't understand why you trying to expunge your felonies, but you won't vote. I really don't. I mean, you out here begging to get things expunged off your record. You are a felon. And there got to be millions of you out there that have made a mistake and paid for that mistake, but yet you won't vote. You want everybody to keep fighting this battle for you, but you won't fight the battle for yourself. I'm going to start a website, and I'm going to join it. I'm not a felon, but I'm going to join it so you don't feel alone out there. I want you to collectively come together and help us help you. And all I'm asking you to do, if you have a felony or a misdemeanor that you want me to expunge next year, I'm asking that you vote. And it's going to be, far as mandated, far as my company is concerned, that you show me that you voted. I would love to know that you voted. I want to expunge every record you got, but you have to help me help you so we can get this off of your record. All right? Stop sitting at home saying you got a felony. Join a cause that helps vote. Get out to vote. Felons can vote. Vote. Please vote. All right? And I don't know why companies out there that are really pushing hard to get all these laws changed. That's why 47 is finally on the ballot. But if 70% of you don't go vote for it, you could understand the people that don't understand you and don't know you will vote against it. And you'll be sitting at home wondering why this law did not go into effect and didn't change. This is a change for the better. Let's get our brothers and sisters treatment for their addiction. Let's get stupid things off the book like receiving stolen property. I've been a cop for 30 years, and that's the dumbest charge out. You buy something that you don't know is stolen, and you get hit with a felony. And they say, well, you should have known it. It was half price. Well, shit, half the stores got half price signs in them now, don't they? For Christmas and New Year's, everything half price. So let's get some of this garbage off the book. Let's stop supporting that $1 billion machine called prison. Let's get rid of that $1 billion machine. Let's get rid of it and help our brothers and sisters out. And like I said, please go vote. Now I'm going to get off that soap really quickly. I just heard recently that Miss Watts, her and her boyfriend, been charged with one count of lewd act. And I thought that was funny. I'm waiting for TMZ to show up with the video. TMZ, you hear me? Where's the video? Where is the video? Because remember, that's a misdemeanor not committed in their presence, and the police didn't see them having sex. Ms. Watts said she was clothed. So unless they got her bare ass up in the air and they got his genitals exposed, it must be skin to skin. I can't wait to see this charge. Remember, Ms. Watts, it's a misdemeanor, not committed in their presence. So the only person that can testify against you is the person that saw you skin to skin. And if there's no video, that is his word against your word. So as I stated before, I can't wait to see the video. I loved her in Django. I can't wait to see her bare ass if it's out there. So I would like to see it. But Ms. Watt, please don't let them have you cop out. Have your attorney watch the video. And remember, the only person that can testify against you is the person that shot that video. It's a misdemeanor not committed in their presence. Okay, I'm going to get off my soap wagon right now. I just want to put those out there for real quick. Now it's time to go to Ferguson. Because everything I heard in Ferguson, all the leaks in Ferguson is in the interest of the police officer, Mr. Wilson. So you got to know you finna get the okie doke right now. It's coming at you right now. They're going to do what they said they did in George Zimmerman down in Florida. And I told you about George Zimmerman, the man that convicted himself on tape. I couldn't figure out on tape why they kept asking him, where was Trayvon banging your head on the sidewalk? If Trayvon was banging his head on the sidewalk and he's bleeding profusely from the back of his head, don't you think there should have been blood on that sidewalk? I wouldn't have to ask him where he was banging your head. The blood would have told me where he was banging the head at on the sidewalk. And then he said on the video that he said when Trayvon confronted me, Trayvon said, what the fuck you doing following me? And I used that. All right. I don't like to use it, but that's what Trayvon said. Remember, the only person can talk for Trayvon is George Zimmerman. Trayvon's dead. And George Zimmerman said, I reached back for my phone as he was reaching back for his gun. And nobody asked him a simple question, where was your gun? Then he said in the next sentence, oh, my phone was in my left pocket, not my right pocket, but you use your right hand and you reach back toward where your gun was. And then his friend, I'm saying this because the feds said they're not going to file on him because apparently they're not watching what I'm watching. So I don't know what the hell's going on. And then he said, well, me and Trayvon got in a struggle. He punched me. Well, nobody represented Trayvon Martin as far as his right to stand his ground. And that was his right, because when a man reaches back for a gun that's been following you, you have to try to protect yourself. But George Zimmerman's friend, if you watch the testimony, said the next day George called him and said, me and Trayvon fought over the gun. Yet Trayvon prints wasn't found on the gun. So you fight over a gun, your prints ain't found on. So unless you're there by yourself and you know police tactics like George Zimmerman did, you wipe it down. See, and then George said that he couldn't have told his friend they fought over a gun because he said, I was on my back and I reached behind my back and I got the gun and I shot Trayvon. So why did you tell your friend you fought over the gun if that's what the gun was? See, I don't know all these inconsistencies that they say doesn't matter at all when you can catch him lying. But my take on it is this. I think the police screwed up the whole investigation from day one, and only public opinion made them come out and investigate. I tell you, the one thing you will never see in a Trayvon Martin case, and you have never seen it today, is the weapon Trayvon Martin used. And that's what? His hands. You ever seen Trayvon Martin's hands? I mean, he was beating George Zimmerman to death with these hands. He was slamming his hand on concrete. He was grabbing him back and forth, but you didn't see his deadly weapon. Where was Trayvon's hands? You think the first thing they would have took was pictures of his hand to show that he had bruises on him. See, those are the things you do when you basic police 101. But you can't do it 3 weeks later. Everybody watched 48 Hours or the first 48. You know what I'm talking about. You watch that show. So I don't know how they can tell you that they don't have any evidence to prosecute him. All you got to do is watch the video. Look at the sidewalk for the blood on the back of the sidewalk. If his head's been slammed in the sidewalk, then there should have been blood on the sidewalk. I watched that video. I watched the detective ask him. So those are just the little things I noticed. But if you didn't know, that was a circus act. Because, you know, the DA, remember I tell you, the DA represents who? The police department. So when we make a mistake, who's covering up for us? The system. But they're the one that was representing Trayvon Martin family, right? So the question is, why didn't they ask any of these questions that I put forth? I put forth these questions a month before the trial. I'm trying to get the video of his parents so maybe they can sit there and have somebody ask him these questions instead of asking that police officer about the necklace and George Zimmerman say he's a Christian, even though he carried a gun and killed Trayvon Martin. He didn't think that was too much of a crime while he's beating the hell out of his wife. So, but let's move on to another story. I'm going to run out of time soon, so I have to cover Missouri. I hope somebody in Missouri is watching this. I hope you pick it up. I hope you put up the right signs. And the right sign should be, remember, count every round. So let's go into that day that Mr. Wilson said, because I've been talking to my friends, and I know the grand jury say they got 7 unnamed witnesses who say they saw this thing. They're going to discount the 4 black people on the street that was there when the shooting occurred. And we're going to give you 7 witnesses that was 20 feet away or 100 feet away in a window somewhere. So, and I talked to my friends, and believe me, I have friends on both sides that I've debated this with all over the place, of every nationality. And I had a friend tell me, she said, well, they have no credible witness. So I asked her, what makes a credible witness? Standing next to him? The kid that was standing next to Mr. Brown didn't commit a crime at all. You show Mr. Brown going to a store that the police didn't know about and take a pack of cigars from someone. But he didn't commit a crime. He was just with him. And nobody's saying he knew what Mr. Brown was going to do. But Mr. Wilson didn't know any of that when he killed Mr. Brown. So what makes him, the person who is standing next to him, when he first shot at the car, and he said, we started to run together, and I hid behind the car, and Brown, last words, was telling me to run for my life until I heard more shots, and he turned around, and Mr. Wilson killed him. So I don't understand that concept of the people that are there 5 yards away actually watching it on the street. We're going to discredit all of them. And then we're going to go with 7 unknown witnesses that said they're scared. But I'm going to break this down for you. And no matter what, I'm going to show you how Mr. Wilson should go to jail for murder. Because the big cover-up is coming for you right now. So I'm going to break it down for you, starting now. All right, what the grand jury talked about is the first round. They're saying that blood was found inside the patrol car, and blood was found on the gun. And everybody admits that he shot him the first round, point blank at the car. But let's get this. Police should not, bad tactics of the police should not let them off for shooting. It was Mr. Wilson who backed into Mr. Brown. He passed him and back. That's bad tactics. You back. Now, they say Mr. Brown fought over the gun, but I'm going to tell you, 90% of the time, and all the police I've known for 30 years, we go into a crowd, we take our gun out and put it on our lap. So what you should be looking for, what they should be showing us, is the type of holster that Mr. Wilson has. Because most of our holsters are resistant holsters. So you can't pull them out of the holster if you reach across me in a car and try to get my gun out. They're designed that way. So when police are in a struggle, our guns just don't fall out. Or if you get your hand on my gun, it's meant that even if you're stronger than me, you can't overpower me for my gun. They're designed that way. Some of them are 2 and 3 things you have to do to get that gun out of holster. But 90% of the time, because when I was a young cop, they taught me that when you pull up to minorities, you put your gun in your lap. And you hold it in your lap with your hand on the trigger. So if I'm bagging back into 2 guys that are bigger than me, I got my gun in my lap. And if Mr. Brown's friend said that the first thing he did was reach out and grab, Mr. Wilson friend, and Brown friend said the first thing Mr. Wilson did was grab him. Well, I got my gun in my lap and I grab you. And yes, the struggle might ensue because you backed back into me and you grabbed me. All because it was contempt of cop. All he had to do was give them at least 3 more minutes or 2 more minutes to complete walking across the street. But by him bagging back into them, that's bad tactics. He backed into that situation, and by him using his bad tactics, that's what happened. Now, I'll say that if he was fighting over his gun, they're going to justify that first round. That's what they're going to do. All right? They'll justify that first round. Therefore, let's give him the first round. Let's say the first round, Mr. Brown was fighting Mr. Wilson, and he shot him at the car. His friend says that. Everyone says that. The grand jury saying that. That's the only thing they're bringing out. So he shot him at the car. And that's because of bad tactics. And I can't say where his gun was, but I'm going to tell you that's how police drive around when we back into a crowd. I'm telling you, 30 years experience. And everyone do it. It's unholstering of your weapon, which is a violation of policy because every time your weapon come out the holster, you have to justify it, even on traffic stops. All right? So that's the first round. That's what the grand jury and the news is talking about right now because they're trying to fool you. They want you to concentrate on the first round. We're going to take a break real quick. When I come back, we're going to talk the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth rounds. I want you to know about those rounds because those rounds are what he should be indicted for murder for. All right. I'm going to take a short break. I am Randy Franklin. This is LA Talk Live, and we will be back shortly. Thank you.
They gonna pay though. They gonna get this. Okay. Put the coke down, now we selling CDs. Regime change from here to overseas. Hustling, moving the muscling. Do this for my nephew Justin. Do this for the political soldiers locked in. Negroes on the block getting framed again. Can't go to war cause I ain't got my money right. But when I do, I'ma make sure y'all brothers see the light. Buy the blueprints, what's the best way to get in? How many guns they surprised it wasn't that hard. I already paid off the National Guard. POWs feeling free as a bird. Not quite, but we halfway to Johannesburg. This is a dream I had on August 17th. Woke up smiling with our 2018.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and hosts of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hey everybody, it's your man Sabir Bey back on your airwaves, inviting you to join us every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Sabir Bey Show, discussing history, pop. Every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Sabir Bey Show, exclusively on latalklive.com. You also can catch us on iTunes Radio and R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch us and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Tika Lark Fleming inviting you to join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for MP Chronicle Presents The Black Girl Show. Join us as we discuss politics, pop culture, and the other side of Black LA. So don't forget to tune in to MP Chronicle Presents The Black Girl Show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Welcome back. Again, I'm Randy Franklin. This is Probable Cause on LA Talk Live, where we more than talk. And we're back. Before we went on break, we talked about the first round that Mr. Wilson shot at Mr. Brown. In a moment, we're going to talk about the second through the sixth round. Remember, the first round, because of bad tactics, and we can't say whether Mr. Brown was fighting with a gun or not, we're going to give him that round. But that round wasn't a fatal round. That round did not kill Mr. Brown. So that's the round that everyone's talking about, that one round. No one is talking about the other 5 rounds that hit Mr. Brown. So as a police officer, you have to justify every round that come out of your gun. Every time you pull the trigger, you have to justify that round. And your life have to be in imminent danger before you can pull that trigger again. So after the first round and Mr. Brown is hit, he starts to run, turning his back to Mr. Wilson. So we gave him that first round, getting out of his vehicle as Mr. Brown tried to run away. We know that he fired that second round. That round should be out of policy because there's no imminent threat to him. And everyone's going to say, well, you're allowed to kill young black men and shoot them in the back because, they're fleeing felons. But there still has to be an imminent threat to your life before you start shooting people in the back while they're running away from you. So we're looking at that second round. Now, there's no threat because he's not at the car. And we know Mr. Brown didn't die at the car. So it ain't like he shot him in the head at the car and he fell down dead. He shot him. He was still communicating with his friend to run. And they both ran. His friend said he ran and he heard the second shot. Boom. He said he heard the third shot. Boom. He said he hid behind the car while Mr. Brown was telling him to run. We don't know where those rounds hit because, that with the experts telling you that the rounds hit him in the back, in the front. So I'm talking about the rounds that left his gun. So his friends say Mr. Brown ran, and then he turned around. Let's give 15 to 25 yards away from Mr. Wilson, away from the police car. Then you got the third round, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth round. Now, I don't know how the grand jury is going to say that they can justify everything but the first round. His friend saying that my friend turned around to give up, and he raised his hands, or he started to raise his hands. Nobody know how high his hands went. We don't know if they went waist high or chest high, or he put them as high as he could in the sky. You don't know. The man's already wounded. He's already been shot. What he did was turn around and stop running because he knew he could not outrun a bullet. And I believe it's going to show that he took some rounds in the back while he was running. And still be able to turn around and talk. He turned around and told him he was giving up. And instead of Mr. Wilson telling him to get on your knees, put your hands up, lay on the ground, because out of anger, he continued to fire his weapon, killing Mr. Brown. So I'm quite sure the grand jury got tape out because Mr. Brown laid in the streets for hours, so they knew where he fell. Usually in a shooting murder case, you don't move your vehicle, so I don't know why they moved the police vehicle, because that would tell you how far Mr. Brown was from Mr. Wilson when he killed him. So how he's going to justify that he shot him those 3, 4, 5, and 6 times when he turned around? And that's why I say the grand jury are only going to leak the information they want you to know. They're going to leak it so they can justify this murder. That's why they're going to leak it. That's why nobody cares about them leaking it. That's why they want to tell you we have 7 unknown black people who corroborate Mr. Wilson's story, but they can't corroborate that evidence. So they can say what they want to say. The evidence is going to speak for itself. Like you shot him while he was running away, and then you murdered him when he turned around and put his hands up, whether they're chest high or over his head. And you're going to have to justify every round, and that's what the grand jury has to do. They have to justify every round that came out of that policeman's gun. And he murdered him under the color of authority. So I'm glad that the FBI is watching this, because you are about to be fooled or okey-doked or whatever you want to call it. And that's why I tell people in Ferguson all the time, be careful in Ferguson. Be careful, because I haven't seen the things that I think are important in Ferguson. I know you're out there protesting. I haven't seen one recall petition. I haven't seen one voters registration petition. And you got people out there. You need to recall someone, all the city council, recall them. You need to recall the police chief, because he let this attitude go on forever and ever. But it seems like all you got to do is come out and apologize to you, say you're sorry, and that's it. Someone needs to go to jail, and some people need to lose the most precious thing to them in the world, and that is their job. For a city council person, that's his job. For a policeman, it's his badge. When you can take those things away from them, you have truly effective change. That's change. But I'm waiting for somebody to do that. There's tons of people out there in the street. Maybe they're not from Ferguson and they can't vote in Ferguson. I don't know. But the people in Ferguson, you should have a recall petition going right now. That's what you should have. You shouldn't let them fool you. Once they understand the power you have in Ferguson, seeing how they say Ferguson is 70% minority, it shouldn't be that hard to take anybody you want out of office. But if you just keep watching TV and running around throwing bottles, then you're never going to achieve anything. What you need to do is do the recall. Have a voters registration drive. Of all the people standing out on the street, it ain't hard to find them now. They're in the street with you. Walk around if they live in Ferguson. Have them sign. Like I said, midterm election is coming up right now. And what you should do is get these people out of office, make them fight for their life. And no matter how hard they fight, if you're 7% minority in Ferguson, someone should be gone. Someone should be out of office. But I want you to watch the okie doke, because it's that secret grand jury. You don't know who's on it. But I guarantee you they're probably the 30% that are not you that's on it, because they signed the voters registration package. They vote. They sit on a jury and you don't. Remember I told you, everybody won't change, but we won't change ourselves. You have to change your own behavior first before you can ask someone else to change theirs. And you have to understand where your power comes from. Your power don't come from going to a town hall meeting with the city council and popping off, watching yourself on the news thinking you did something important. I would have loved to see a voter's registration at that meeting. I wanted one person to stand up and say, sir, we are trying to recall you at this particular time, and we want you out of office. Too bad Ferguson's not the NFL, huh? Seems like they move a lot quicker than you do. But that's what I want them. But back to Mr. Wilson. Remember I said this. Every time a policeman pull a trigger on his weapon, every round is counted. So make some signs up in Ferguson said, count every round. We know he didn't fire just one round. And because of his bad tactics, we gave him that one round. That's what we gave him. And you can't do anything about it. He backed into the situation. He created his own shooting, like a lot of police do around the country. We see a person with a knife. He's standing 100 yards from us. We run up to him until we get 10 yards to him, and then we shoot him. When all we had to do was stay 100 yards back, get non-lethal, and take him into custody, or try to talk him out of it. Police shootings we have had people in police shootings that a person has a knife to his own throat, and to keep him from killing himself, we kill him. Now that's the dumbest shit in the world, isn't it? You're going to kill yourself? No, we don't want you to kill yourself, but we're going to shoot you 3 times. So we shoot him 3 times. That has happened numerous times on every police department. We got to stop letting police create their own murder scenes with their bad tactics. We have to look at their tactics first, which violates their own policies. And then we have to go after the policeman for putting himself in a situation that he took a human life because of his bad tactics. Mr. Wilson's bad tactics led to this shooting. I can't say it any other way. His bad tactics led to this shooting. It was a contempt of cop issue where I told you what to do and you need to do it right now. And a lot of cops have that. They have that holier than thou complex where they believe that you're their children, and when they speak, you should move and listen to them immediately. I'm not your child. I'm a grown-up just like you are. The only difference is you put on a uniform and this is your job. We know that job is dangerous. We actually know it. So, yes, but it doesn't give you the right to violate my rights. It do not. And we try hard to figure this out with police officers. I've talked to police officers. They want the bad officers gone. They really do. We know it's a tough job. We know you have to listen. But the most important thing you should know is you should know the law. You're here to enforce the law. And if you don't know the law because you stopped reading 10 to 15 years ago, then you should get back to reading before you end up in prison or on one of these lists that I'm going to put out. I'm going to start a list I talked about last week. We talked about officers who perjured themselves on stand in prosecutorial misconduct. I tell you that nobody gives a shit if you do 15 or 20 years in prison. Nobody. I tell you that we do it because you have nobody on your side. You have no politicians. You have not the city council, the chief of police, or the mayor. No one's on your side. If they were, and I say, bring out anyone that want to talk to me. If you do, all you have to do is effect change. Say, we're going to get rid of every police that perjure himself on the stand. You no longer have a job. But you won't get that. There got to be like 150 of them, if you go on the internet now, that still have their job, still going to court every day, raising their right hand, testifying against you. Even though we've already proved that they're a liar. All right? So in Ferguson, I want you to be careful of that grand jury. You watch that grand jury really closely. And you tell them what I said. We need to count every round out of his gun. Please, I would please somebody make a sign up and hold it up that says count every round out of Officer Wilson's gun. Justify every single time he pulled the trigger at Mr. Brown. And you'll see that they will not get past round number 1. They won't. You ever heard anybody, not the news media or anyone, talk about rounds 2 through 6? Not one person will tell you about rounds 2 through 6. Not one person will tell you how far Mr. Brown was away from the vehicle when Mr. Wilson killed him. That'll show you that he's not a threat. I heard one report that I'm being shot, I'm 25 yards away, and I'm going to charge a gun? You got to be kidding me. That's the stupidest shit I ever heard in my whole life. Nobody charges a gun from that far away. And just like Trayvon Martin, Mr. Brown was a teenager. I'm quite sure he didn't go through all the courses I've been through and every other police expert on how to take a gun away from someone. So I'm quite sure he wasn't trying to charge that gun. And Mr. Wilson fired those rounds until him killing him. So those are the things that I'm looking for. Those are the things I want you to look for. I want you to look for those things. I want you to start asking the right questions. The right question is, how far was Mr. Brown away from the car when he was shot the last 3 times by Mr. Wilson? They should have a diagram to show you that already. It should be public knowledge. They should show you how far he was away. And then for my friends out there who said that the people who were there on scene, who gave interviews immediately after this incident, are not credible because they're black. I'm Randy Franklin. This is Probable Cause. We're on LA Talk Live. And we'll be back shortly to conclude this segment of my show. Please stay tuned. Thank you.
Man to man is so unjust. Children, you don't know who to trust. Your worst enemy could be your best friend. And your best friend, your worst enemy. Some will eat and drink with you. Then behind them sus upon you. Only your friend know your secrets. So only he could reveal it. And who the cap fit, let them wear it. Who the cap fit, let them wear it. Said I throw me con.
Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. You're tuned in to LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk.
Yeah, this is the hip hop school of arts, y'all. And all you gotta do is dream, believe, and create. So let's go. This is the first hip hop school in the world, given to the youth in the heart of P-Town. Pomona, come through, visit the facility, take a long look. Right now we're making history. All the elements of hip hop under one roof, and you can learn every one if you want, like popping, locking, DJing, and urban art, beatboxing, and b-boying, and entrepreneurship. That's how we doing it. You see, our mission is to provide a technical trade program, bro. Transform each student's creative energy into marketable skills you see through education, guidance, and self-expression. And I'm the one who can teach you how to MC. The Hip Hop School of Arts is the place to be, so let's go. Visit hiphopschoolofarts.org or stop by the facility at 499 North Gary Avenue in Pomona, California for more info. You can also call us at 909-622-4472. Be a part of something special.
Hi, this is Tika Lark Fleming inviting you to join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for MP Chronicle Presents The Black Girl Show. Join us as we discuss politics, pop culture, and the other side of Black LA. So don't forget to tune in to MP Chronicle Presents The Black Girl Show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Peace and love. This is Eddie Lamont, the fastest man in LA, inviting you to my new show, Superforce Radio, the urban lounge and internet radio TV. That's every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's Superforce Radio, baby. Informing the globe and empowering the people while playing the tightest songs in the universe. Exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Live 365, Radio Flag and AHA Radio, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Welcome back. Again, I'm Randy Franklin. This is Probable Cause. And you're listening to, we're on LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk. I've been talking all the rest of this 20 minutes about the smoke and mirrors that they're trying to do up in Ferguson. And I'm trying to give you a little bit of knowledge about what should happen and what they should say. So I'm hoping somebody, anyone who knows this, can get this to Ferguson. I hope Ferguson is listening to me. We want you to pay attention to several things. Remember, you want to know what type of holster Mr. Wilson had. You want to know if it's a retention holster or not. That's the first thing you want to know. And like I said before, it was his bad tactics that led to this incident. First it was contempt of cop, and then it was bad tactics. And because of his contempt of cop attitude and his bad tactics, a young man is dead. So, what we want to do, too, is not get fooled by the grand jury or the news media, because apparently the news media is Mr. Wilson themselves, I guess. You want to make sure they only talk about the first round that was fired out of his weapon. And I understand that round. As a police officer, I'm going to tell you, his bad tactics put him in a situation where he had to fire that bad round. But I'm going to tell you, I believe, in my honest opinion, that his weapon was in his hand, because if he had a retention holster, there was no way that Mr. Brown could have reached through there and pulled that out of his holster on his right side. Remember, I'm in a vehicle, the vehicle's running. All I have to do is grab your arm and drag you down the street with my car. But if your weapon's already out of your holster and someone's fighting over it, then yes, you will discharge your weapon because of your bad tactics. But that's not the round that I'm talking about. The news media is talking enough about that round. I tell you before, they said, yeah, Mr. Brown, blood was on his gun, his shirt, and inside the car. That's because he shot him at the car. I'm more concerned with the second through the sixth round. And even though they're going to try to fool you, do smoke and mirrors with you, they're going to leak stuff that they want to leak so they can soften it. You should have a sign up that says, count every round. Remember, a law enforcement officer took an oath, right? We took that oath to protect and serve. We took that oath that we would do no harm, basically. And they gave us a firearm for yours and my protection. That's what they gave it to you. They even gave it to me as a tool to be used in anger. Remember, that weapon is supposed to be a defensive weapon, not an offensive weapon. And I'm going to tell you now, from what I'm seeing, after Mr. Brown started running, he used it as an offensive weapon. And every round should be checked. So someone in Ferguson, I seen a lot of signs up there. I seen those no justice, no peace signs, which you know I hate. Somebody should make a sign that says count every round. Someone should tell us where rounds 2 through 6, when they were shot, and where was Mr. Brown and Mr. Wilson when those rounds were shot. From the eyewitnesses that was on scene, the friend that was with him, they were running after Mr. Brown was wounded. So he was wounded at the car. He knew he was hit and shot, and he started to run. And his friend was running with him, but decided that he would duck behind a car, leaving only one target for Mr. Wilson to shoot at. And he got out of his car, and this is where the problems begin for Mr. Wilson. He got out of his vehicle with his gun, and he discharged it 5 more times. Every time he pulled the trigger, you are responsible for every round. So let's ask the right questions, and let's ask them before the grand jury convenes or convene and say that Mr. Wilson is not guilty. Let's count rounds 2 through 6. Where was Mr. Wilson standing, and where was Mr. Brown? And if he fired at him as he was running away from him, those rounds should be out of policy. Those are rounds that struck him in the back. Knowing that now he's wounded, he's hit 2 to 3 times, he turns to face his attacker. And as he started to put his hands up unarmed, and I say that again, unarmed, at least 25 feet away from Mr. Wilson continued to fire into Mr. Brown. Those rounds are not manslaughter. Those rounds are murder. So, I don't know how the grand jury is not going to indict him for murder. And he should be indicted for murder, because those rounds are murder. You have someone who are giving up. As a police officer, we are not taught to execute you because we are mad. We're supposed to be professionals who have been through a great deal of training, a great amount, and we're supposed to know how to temper our emotions, not let them escalate to the point where we are now murderers. I think you should send a clear message to Mr. Wilson that it will not be tolerated anywhere in this country, even though it's an event that keeps occurring over and over and over again. On other shows, people have asked me, and I've talked about it. You ask me, why does it keep occurring over and over and over again? And I'll tell you, there's no one on your side. You have no politicians, no city council. You don't have a lawyer in your pocket like we do, the DA. You have no one. You don't have any politicians that's going to show up, because all they care about is they just need your vote when it's time. They're only black when it's time to be black. They're only white when it's time to be white. See, that's the only time. There's no one on your side. And you will never see us get indicted. We don't get indicted for stuff like that. We sweep it under the rugs and call it good tactics. Then we let your parents go find an attorney who's not on your side because all he needs is a civil suit. That's all they care about. It's a civil suit. We give you $1.2 million of what? Your money. What I call it house money is your money. It's taxpayers' money. And everything stays the same. We go back to the station, high-five each other. And it's all over it. You get a badge of courage because now you've killed another man. So you get a badge of courage. Everyone talk about, oh, you've been in a shooting. Oh, you must be a bad mother. Yeah, 'cause you didn't kill one of them. Yeah, that's how you get congratulated. I know. I've seen tons of shootings. I've been in the station. It's a badge of honor if you go out and kill one of you. All right? And don't get me wrong. There's bad people out there. There are. And we need the police to take care of those bad people. All I'm asking for is the honest policemen to go on the street, not the crooked ones. But you're never going to stop this cover-up until you learn how to vote and take people out of office, until you get a politician who's brave enough to come on your side and change some of these laws. But as long as you don't get that, you'll be back in the news again. We did it for Trayvon. We're going to do it for Brown and countless other young men who have been executed. Shot in the back, shot unarmed. I tell you all the time, this is going to keep occurring. Hopefully, we'll be able to take care of this down the road. But for Ferguson, just do this for me. Ask to see his holster. See if it's a retention holster. They'll let you know where the gun was. All right? 2, because of his bad tactics, you have to give him round 1. I'm going to tell you as a cop, you have to give him round 1. Whether he reached out and grabbed Mr. Brown and Mr. Brown was defending himself by the mere fighting over what he said is a gun, no one else can say what happened because Mr. Brown is deceased. So give him that. But let's send him to jail on rounds 2 through 6. Because no one can justify 2 through 6. That's why you haven't heard anybody talk about rounds 2 through 6. He got out of his car and he shot a man in the back. And as that man turned around from him, he shot him in the front and murdered him. Now you have to go on distance. So it's very important, the distance. All right? They say, well, Mr. Brown wasn't, hands weren't up. If his hands was up midways above him, he still did not have the right to shoot him in the chest if he's not posing a threat to him 25 yards away. All right? And to believe that Mr. Brown, who's been shot twice or 3 times, turned around and was going to rush Mr. Wilson with a loaded gun pointed at him is completely silly. That's silly. And as I said for my friends, shame on you. Because you can't tell me that the 4 witnesses that witnessed it is not credible because they're black and they're poor. So explain to me what makes a good witness. I've seen witnesses come in that are in jail and testify against someone else, and you give them immunity. So, but they're good witnesses. So how can a person in jail testify against another inmate and you say he's credible? Yet you're going to tell me people that's standing out there are not credible, and they gave an eyewitness testimony right after the shooting, which is the best way to get a testimony from anyone, is right there on scene right after the shooting. It wasn't even an hour they were giving their testimony in less. And those testimonies are the same. Now you're going to tell me people that was in the house that heard the shooting running from the back room, those are the ones you're going to use. So shame on my friends for saying those people are not credible. They're credible. They're just not of the economic status that you are. I'll put it that way. How about that? Maybe that'll make you feel better. So I'll tell people right now, those are the things you should look for. As we get off of this, and I'm running out of time, and I'm sorry, I have to go into some questions that my friend asked me about the police department. So I'm going to cover it really quickly for you again. And I'm going to keep repeating this until you have it at your dinner table, until you talk to your kids about it. The more we talk about this, and the more I talk with police officers, everyone keeps saying, when the police stop you, you should just comply, do whatever you want. Give up all your rights. That's bullshit. You have rights. People have fought for your rights and died for your rights. It's crazy to believe that you should do everything a policeman tell you, even though it's illegal. That's the craziest thing I ever heard. So here's the deal again. I'm going to tell you. If you're walking down the street, remember, we do not have a stop and ID in California. 647E. They repealed it in 2008. Just keep walking. You don't have to talk to them. Like Ricky Mundy did. You say anything you want to them. They can't pull up and just stop you. You have a First Amendment right too. All right? If you 4 people in the car and it's a traffic violation, only the driver has the ID itself. But remember what I told you. Everybody has a phone now. Make sure your phone is set that you press one button. It's video and recording the conversation completely. Remember what your phone is good for. Use it because you don't want your word against his word. Always demand a business card from the police if you believe you are being disrespected. And if that, ask for a supervisor. And he's going to say, well, what you need a supervisor for? None of your damn business. I said, get me a supervisor. So could you get me one? Apparently, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I want to talk to him. And if you don't like the cover up the supervisor did, drive to the station and talk to the watch commander and make sure you record it. And that's any police department. Hey, I got a caller. Hang on a second. I'm going to take the caller. Caller, could you give me your name? Hello?
Peace and love. Yes, peace and love.
How are you doing today?
How are you today?
I'm doing marvelous. How about yourself?
I'm well, brother. Yes, I'm calling out of Brooklyn, and I listened to your show, and it's very interesting that you're speaking about the case. And I wanted to ask about one of the witnesses who I saw her give her testimony, and she seemed very credible as far as what I was seeing and listening to. She was all over CNN. And the young lady's name was Tiffany. And her story was that before the shooting actually took place, she was rolling on the block to pick up a coworker of hers when she actually saw the man tussling with the officer. And what she was going to do was actually film the incident. Then the next thing you know, she heard the shots. So she dropped her phone in excitement and wound up parking in a parking lot that was right next to the building where her coworker lived, right in front of the scene of the actual shooting. So she saw everything that was happening. Now, are you familiar with this young lady?
Yes, I heard that. And everyone agrees that there was a struggle at the car. I said we're going to give him the first round. There was a struggle at the car in which Mr. Brown was shot. I also say due to Mr. Wilson's bad tactics, bagging up into them, he caused that one round. But we're going to give him the first round. My show is about 2 through 6. Those are the rounds we're not going to give him. Those are the rounds I want people to question. Those are the rounds that are out of policy. And the last 3 rounds should be considered intentional murder. Hello, caller? All right. Well, this is going to conclude my show. When I come back, I have more time to go over my Ask the Popo questions. I appreciate you tuning in to me. So, well, we're going to do a little bit of Ask the Popo. We're going to keep it up really quickly. I'm going to just run through it really fast because I'm running out of time. So remember what I said. If there's 4 of you in the car, tape the incident. Always ask for a supervisor. Remember, the 5 numbers on the door of the car in the back of the trunk identify the policeman in it. So if he won't give you that, write down those 5 numbers. Remember, the trunk tell you where the policeman is from so you can go to the right station. You should play a game like I told you before. What do the numbers? Every time you see a police car, ask yourself what 7, 18, 2, 3, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 14. What do they mean? Each one of them tell you what area that police car is from so you can go to the right station. All right? Remember what I said. If you don't know your rights, you don't have any rights. You just have the rights we want to give you in the middle of the night. Understand your rights, all right? Hey, I'm Randy Franklin. This is Probable Cause. And this is LA Talk Live, where we just more than talk. We're here every Thursday at 5 p.m. I'm looking forward to your comments. Please call in, write, and let us know. I'm going to say good day, and I appreciate you tuning in to me. See you next Thursday. Bye.
Get up, stand up for your right. Get up, stand up for your right. Get up, stand up for your right. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Preacher man, don't tell me
tuning into LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.